All right, welcome everybody to another rousing rendition of the AFC Northcast. It is the 5th of December, Thursday evening. The Cowboys and Bears are having a competitive football game in Old Soldier Field. And this is a familiar voice, just not in this role. I am Joey, and I'm here this evening with Chad.
Hey, Steeler Nation.
And we've got a pretty good slate of games, I think, this week to cover in the old AFC North. We
Yeah,
have a
elite,
divisional
pretty
matchup
competitive.
that's a lot more intriguing than 2 weeks ago, probably.
Yeah.
Um, but first, you got any news you want to talk about there, Chad?
um, I don't have a ton of news. The one thing that I didn't bring up that was released recently is the semifinalists for the Football Hall of Fame.
Hmm.
That came out. So there's a few representatives from our division. The Browns, Clay Matthews Sr., linebacker in the, I guess, late 70s and 80s. Nice long storied career for the Browns, semifinalist. And then the Steelers have three semifinalists. They have long tenured Steeler offensive lineman Alan Faneca, who Steeler fans have been clamoring for making the Hall of Fame for years. Hines Ward, who is a little bit more debatable. The most passionate Steeler fans definitely want him in. Some football purists want him in for his blocking and just general. He was just kind of a face of the game because of the
Yeah.
Steelers in that time. And his statistics as a receiver don't really hold up compared to the people that he's competing with. And Troy Polamalu, who I think the Steeler fans will burn something down if he is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, especially after Ed Reed got in first ballot. That just would not stand. So, four AFC North final semifinalists for the Hall of Fame, so we can kind of keep track of that as it goes on. I think they do the. Is it around the Super Bowl that they actually release the finalists, or I don't
That
remember the
sounds
schedule.
right. Like Super Bowl week, I think they probably announce them.
Yeah, so they bring it down to like 15. I think the list is like 30 something or whatever. And actually, this year for the 100th anniversary, they're doing something special with some old players too, where they're doing a list of old players who've, I guess, expired their Hall of Fame eligibility. Um, so that should be interesting. I'm sure there's some players on all the teams, except for maybe the Ravens because they're newer. But I know for Steeler fans, Art Shell, cornerback in the 70s, and then actually most of his career was post the Super Bowl era. He's a guy that a lot of older Steeler fans really want to see in there. A lot of interception player, so we'll see how that develops.
Yeah. Hall of Fame's always fun debates. Heinz Ward's kind of one of those perfect debate guys because he's such a well-known player and he's got the championship pedigree and he was in that golden era of the Ravens Steelers rivalry with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and those guys. And
Yeah, it's tricky because I think generally, if you really want to win a debate, you need some stats. But Heinz Ward is a moments guy. He's just got he just doesn't have the stats as a wide receiver to get in. I mean, every year it's Torrey Holt, it's Isaac Bruce, it's Marvin Harrison, it's going to be Calvin Johnson, it's Randy Moss. These guys
yeah.
like tripled his numbers basically. The only stat he basically had is that he was the leader in receiving for the Steelers. And when you're the top of all the lists for a franchise is important, I guess, as the Steelers are in the popularity of the game, that can hold some water. But most of those records got set by AB. So I don't know. He
Uh,
had some great moments.
did he get the Super Bowl MVP in the Seahawks Super Bowl?
Yeah.
So he's got that in his favor. Only 50 of those guys. Or less, I guess, considering some quarterbacks probably won it twice. But
Yeah. I don't know the statistics on like how many of those guys that are retired are in the Hall of Fame, but I don't think his odds are good. I don't
yeah,
think Hines is going to make it. And I'm not even that worked up about it. Like he's going to be in the Steelers Ring of Honor. He's never going to buy a drink in Pittsburgh again. He won a Super Bowl. He
Yeah.
won Dancing with the Stars. He's a champion. He's a champion.
Some people are just winners.
That's right.
One thing that was in the news cycle for a brief moment yesterday morning was rumblings of Odell Beckham Jr. wanting out. It is possibly the most Odell Beckham Jr. story ever. I heard of it in a text message, and then I sought it out on Twitter because there was nothing just in my feed. And it seemed to me like most of it was like Bills blogs and Patriots blogs and just bloggers saying like, "Oh, yo, we'll take Odell Beckham for whatever draft pick you want to request."
Yeah. Did you find the interview?
I
Okay,
saw today a quote where they asked him about it, and he said that he wants to play in Cleveland.
yeah. So there's like more to the interview, and I'm not going to quote him because I don't feel like it. But I'll play Justin for a minute, and then I'll play my Steelers Nation constituents. So for Justin, this is a non-story. He's basically trying to not answer the question. He says he's happy where he is now. He wants to win. Winning cures everything. All the things you're supposed to say, generic, good, whatever. Okay, Justin, out. Steelers Nation. He wants out. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He's saying stuff in this interview like, I don't know where I'm going to be tomorrow. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I don't know if I'm going to want to be here. I don't know. I'll worry about that in the off season. It's like, if you really want to look for the nuggets in those non-answers, you can feel the frustration. Like, you can feel it. He is like the best receiver in football, and they can't get him the ball. He's having like a shit year. And basically, the only thing that ties him to this team is his best buddy. He doesn't care about anything else. He's having a bad year, and he's pissed, and he is on a razor's edge. And I believe all the rumors. I think he's paying. This Browns team is just finding a new way to be the Browns, and I've been getting text messages. Steelers Nation is loving it.
Oh man, what kind of text? The Steelers want him, or they just are happy
No,
that
no, they just
Cleveland's
think it's
imploding?
hilarious. Yeah, just
Yeah,
hilarious that it's floating. We don't care about Odell. I don't even know why. Like he's great, like except for the locker room stuff, but he's not even probably that bad if you're doing okay in the locker room. Like,
yeah,
but yeah, they just think it's funny. It's just, and it is. His Browns team is so talented, and they might just be finding a way to be as entertaining in their badness as they were when they couldn't win a game.
yeah. I heard a stat today. So last year he played 14 or no, 14 games, no, 12 games. Yeah, 12 games with the Giants because he missed some time, I think, with an injury, and everything was about how Eli Manning's holding him back and this and that. And through 12 games, he had like 1,000 and some change yards and like 80 something
ATs,
catches, something
yeah.
like that. And everything's lower this year. He's only had 200-yard games. So I we said in the beginning of the year that if they started losing, things could fall apart. And I mean, he's had his like get me the damn ball types of moments this year. And so depending how these last four games go, it could be an interesting offseason because there's a lot of guys on that football team that either tell it like it is or just are too dumb to have a filter. And could be some interesting headlines.
I will say to Odell's credit, if he's imploding the team, it's from the inside. He's, in my opinion, handled all the media stuff really
Yeah.
well. I appreciate his honesty. Like he said, like give me the responsibility. Like, give me the ball. I want the responsibility of that. Like, I want it, And like, even when he's asking for the ball, I've liked the way he's done it. Um, but you just get the feeling that he's not that composed when he's talking to his wide receiver coach on a Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
See.
Enough talking about that loser franchise. Actually, we're going to talk more about that loser franchise.
Should we jump right into them, or
That's
do you
right.
have a
Yeah,
second?
we'll jump into them. So this Sunday at 1 p.m., the 7-point favorite Cleveland Browns will host Andy Dalton and the Cincinnati Bengals. It's a divisional matchup that 2 weeks ago, when Ryan Finley was playing, it's almost an afterthought. It's like, oh, yup, check. Browns are going to get that win. I'm not so sure now. I think that this game is going. You kind of alluded to it. I think it was you on the pod on Tuesday. Like, this game's going to be the big indicator of if Freddie Kitchens is the guy or not. If these guys come out and they're fiery and they put it to the Bengals like they should, then we can feel okay for another week about Freddie Kitchens. But if they come out at home and lay an egg and play uninspired football, they very well could lose to the Bengals. And that's a bad look for Freddie Kitchens.
Yeah, Freddie Kitchens always says he doesn't think about his job and he's not worried about his job and all that stuff, but like, he should be, because this is a serious gut check as to whether or not he has that locker room. And I have to admit, like, I always wonder, why does a head coach have to have a locker room? This is an industry that is like a true meritocracy. If you don't work hard every moment of every day, you are like always being judged. Game day, practices, the weight room, like, you just always. How do you have to have the locker room to get these guys to play hard and well? But it seems to be the case. Like, you can see teams fold. And this would be a really bad look. Like, there's a chance, even if the Browns play a game like they did against the Jets, where they like win, but you're just like not impressed by anything, I still think even that would get Browns Nation chirping about Freddie Kitchens. They're already doing it. They've been chirping Freddie Kitchens all year. I don't, and maybe fairly, like, I know I'm a Steeler fan, and the T-shirt thing pissed me off, but it's just so immature. It's just like immature. It's not professional, and I'm like, it's changing my opinion of maybe who he is, and I just don't know. I just don't know, Joey, about this.
So I just did a Twitter search on Demarius Randall, and I don't know. Something just came up. It's by some knockoff Cleveland Browns Twitter page, but it says it's come to the attention of the training staff that Demarius Randall and Christian Kirksey have declared that they both wish to leave Cleveland together.
Really?
And that it might be the start of a rebellion.
Holy mac. Where is this coming from?
Sources. Anyways. But Freddie said today that Demarius Randall is practicing and preparing to play Sunday. He said, I think Demarius is out there doing his best to focus, concentrate, and preparing to play Sunday. Which is all weird because nobody ever said why he was benched or anything like that. I mean, even with him playing, they're thin in the secondary. They don't have their best pass rusher. This Bengals team only has like 40 less yards on the season passing than the Browns. So it's not a toothless pass offense. They're getting John Ross back maybe this week.
He's active. He's on the 53.
And so now you have him and Tyler Boyd and Auden Tate and a more than capable quarterback with Andy Dalton and Joe Mixon. Like all of a sudden, this team with Ryan Finley at the helm that nobody was scared of, like they could put some points up against
I
a
totally agree.
weakened Cleveland defense.
Andy Dalton, don't forget, is willing to throw to the tight ends, which means that if you use them with intelligence, you're keeping those linebackers moving because through all of it, Cleveland's linebackers have really played well. They've even started infiltrating. They've been getting Taki some snaps.
Yeah.
He's been getting in there, which is great to rest Mac Wilson and Joe Schobert a little bit. And he's been getting some pressures on the quarterback and doing some half decent things. So they're good. And so to be able to move them around, have them chasing tight ends, and dude, look, it took flea flickers and junk to get John Ross touchdowns, even with Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
But you want to have a safety. Like the Browns don't have, they don't like have anybody.
Yep.
Like they need Demarius Randall, and we're gonna look back on this year either way with the Browns and be like, this was weird team. Like the way that they dealt with Antonio Callaway and now this situation, they're short on defensive ends, right? They cut the dude whose girlfriend died in a car accident this week, and he's a defensive end. So like any normal team, you're like, that's really sad. He must have been pretty bad if they're short at this position and they still cut him. Why didn't they cut him when they had a bunch of defensive ends? Like, and why would they wait till now? It's just this is classic Browns. Like, what are they doing and why? And they have such a history of mucking it up. But to stay close to the football field here, because we're really crapping on Justin's team while he's not around. I would hope for Browns fans and for the team that Demarius Randall plays, because like you said, Tyler Boyd, you don't think of him as a guy that stretches the field, but he's shown that he can make contested catches down the field. Auden Tate dropped a lamp, no big deal. Auden Tate makes contested catches every week. Like he is good for one crazy catch a week, and that's on a bad week. He gets like 2 or 3 on a good week.
Yeah.
And then you've got, who did I skip? Tyler Boyd, Auden Tate, and John Ross. That's all he does. Like he's just a speedster, you know? And so it's legit. And then we haven't even talked about Brown's weakness, which is like the running game. Like, are they going to chase around Joe Mixon successfully? Like this is, I agree with you. If they don't come prepared and solid, this will be the first time this year that the Bengals score 25 points or whatever. I mean, they have not scored many yet. They could come and put some points up.
Yeah, and the Browns, as far as to just touch on the weirdness of their season, all of these moves are seem to be trying to perpetuate like the idea that they're not going to put up with any bullshit this year, but they continue to be like the most penalized team in the league. They fucking kill themselves with false starts and shit like that constantly. And if Freddie Kitchens was really like a disciplinarian coach, not to keep harping on the t-shirt thing, like that's not something that like no nonsense coaches do. Like regardless of who gave him that t-shirt, like Bill Belichick would not be fucking caught dead with like the Jets suck t-shirt on or something like that. Like he's above it. It's not like, so yeah, this is, I think, the biggest litmus test of the season for them, to really find out that this is a team that they should beat, and they still have a chance, a reasonable chance, to go 8-8 this year and post the best season they've had in a long time.
Agreed. And
But
let's just say that the worst happens. Let's say that the defense, they don't have the safeties. Olivier Vernon is clearly still hurt. He might not play at all. They don't have Myles Garrett. And Cincinnati does put up points. They put up record points. They put up 30 points. Cincinnati fans, all 16 of them that still watch the games, are cheering and they're yelling. They're so excited. There is no reason that the Browns offense can't put up all the points in this game, except for one: Cincinnati's pass rush. They've got defensive linemen. We talk about it every week. They're great. I heard a really interesting stat on the Cleveland Browns Daily podcast from Jake Trotter. Baker Mayfield is pressured on 33% of his dropbacks. Now, that meant nothing to me, but in context, that is 9th best in the NFL. So the offensive line, for all we say about it, is doing an above average job keeping him from being pressured. However, of the times he gets pressured, he's sacked 21% of the time, which I thought sounded pretty good, but it's actually 5th worst. So Baker Mayfield may be more at the heart of some of these problems than we give credit for. He needs to make good decisions. He's going to get pressured in this game because that's what Cincinnati's good at, and they have to do it to protect their other position players. So he needs to make good decisions. He needs to go through his progressions quickly, and he needs to not be afraid to throw the ball away occasionally, because the running game is good enough that they can get it back on 2nd and 10, you know?
yeah,
They might not get it back on 2nd and 15 or 16. And you know what? Freddie Kitchens needs to stick with the running game. They're not the Ravens, but they can be down 10 points at the beginning of the 4th quarter and still just do a long drive that's Nick Chubb centric. Just don't be afraid of your best player.
yeah. They almost pulled a Ravens at the end of the first half last week before Baker went out. They were kind of like in between wanting to push and go for it. And Freddie called a couple runs to Kareem Hunt, and he broke both of them off for like 10 plus yards and a first down. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, well, maybe we should push a little more. Like they almost stumbled into running their way into field goal range last week. Yeah, Kareem Hunt's been great for them. And they can pose a lot of problems against a really subpar defense.
I mean, can you imagine those linebackers trying to keep track of Kareem Hunt,
Nick Vigil and Pratt? Yeah.
I mean, if this game is, and you know what, maybe you just have to live with the fact that OBJ, if he wants out 8%, it's going to be 11% after this week, because like this is just like a running team. And frankly, do they do play action? Like, I don't feel like Cleveland does a ton of play action. Like, if you want Odell Beckham free, everybody bites on play action. Everybody. And you know who bites on play action? Jesse Bates, because that's all he does. He has to tackle the running back all the time.
Yeah,
if you want the free run
tackles
deep into the field, like, do some play action, get that running game going, or even if it's not working, do it anyway, and maybe you can throw a couple deep ones to OBJ and, you know, keep him happy, him in his clown shoes. I think if Baker makes good decisions, Cleveland's offense has like a huge advantage in this game. But if they don't,
yeah, I think outside of Baker's hand, which I don't know if like a prognosis or anything ever came, I didn't see anything. Outside of that,
Mama didn't raise no wuss. Mama didn't raise no wuss, Joey.
That's right.
So he's playing.
I don't know if Adam Schefter had a sick burn on Mike Greenberg, because on Get Up, I think it was today, they were talking about him saying "Mama didn't raise no wuss," and they said, "Well, what does that mean?" And they were going around the table saying what it means, and Adam Schefter said that that means that Baker's mom is different from Greeny's mom. It's like, oh man, Adam Schefter from the top freaking
Dude.
rope, man. But I almost feel like play calling is gonna be the most paramount for them, and it's almost like that every week, where it's like, are they willing to not fold to the same like hype that they've had all year and forcing the ball to OBJ? Like, if Jarvis ends up with 8 catches and Odell ends up with 2 for 15 yards, and it Chubb runs for 85 yards and Hunt runs for 55 yards, like, that's fine. Just let it, just be who you are, because you have the talent everywhere to make it work.
Yeah, and the one thing that we've been talking about, and Justin noted it early, because of his focus on kind of first half versus second half adjustments and everything, is the Browns have been excellent on their scripted plays this year, and I found that to be a pretty forgivable because there's so many new players. They didn't all play together. At talking to you, OBJ, in the preseason, so you're better at the plays you practice more than just the other stuff. But you know what? We're in week 14 now. It's time. It's time to just be good at your playbook. You know,
Yeah.
it's time. It's just time. Like you've been doing it. You've sucked at it enough in the games that you should know how to do it right. Um, I'm kind of done giving them excuses on that. I don't think I actually ever gave them the excuse out loud, but in my head, I found it to be pretty forgivable because they had so many new position players, learning each other. But it's time. I mean, it's been 3 months. Let's just be let's just be good all game this week. How about that, Cleveland?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, if they get out coached at halftime again to another rookie head coach, and a team that just got their first win last week, like, maybe keep a bag packed, Freddie Kitchens, just in case. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the best coaches, like, you see Belichick coaching up, like, between drives. Like, it doesn't even have to
Hmm.
be between quarters, between halves, anything. Like, adjustments constant. And this team just doesn't adjust. Like,
Hopefully, it won't have to this week. That's what we're looking for out of Cleveland. We can learn how to adjust later. This week, you dominate, and and hopefully we don't learn anything about Cleveland's ability to adjust this week.
the
Because if they go
nature,
into half down by 7,
yeah, yeah, the nature of running the ball, I think, it, it barring anything drastic by the defense, is almost adjustment proof. Like, if you can run the ball well, you can run the ball well. And other than them slamming the box and taking their chances with Jarvis and Odell and man coverage, which is silly, like, that's just something that the Bengals are not going to be able to handle. And if you get
and
on
we've
a
seen it with the
roll, and
Bengals.
yeah,
Even when they're all up in the box, they like to do that. Like they all line up. You know what I mean? They put the linebackers in the
yeah,
gaps and they run blitz. And if it's Nick Chubb, like he's gonna read it. Like he's gonna have a good game. Daily fantasy players, in case you were wondering, Nick Chubb's still good. So we're still picking the Browns, right? Even though they stink.
oh,
Like,
heavens, yeah.
yeah.
I don't think 7 points is a big spread for this game for me. I just don't trust the Browns.
Yeah.
But they're coming off a loss. They're at home, so it's hard to get a read on. But the Browns are just a better football team, and through however many 8 weeks or whatever it was with Andy Dalton, the Bengals were still winless, and so
Yeah.
it's easy to
Yeah.
forget that.
The Bengals got the Dalton push, and now it's over. Now they're just who they are, um, which is, like you said, not great. So Browns win.
I'm on the Browns. We're sure Justin's on the Browns too.
Justin is a believer, and he needs this win in order to still have a chance at salvaging his social media pages and the $20 that he will probably be sending to Sean.
And we'll just go in chronological order. I know I fucked up the order.
I did. I wanted to talk about the Browns because we're already talking about
Good.
OBJ.
Perfect. Um, so the next game we'll talk about also on Sunday at 1. The Ravens head to upstate New York to take on the Buffalo Bills. The 9-3 Buffalo Bills, the one game out of the 1 seed Buffalo Bills. You notice anything different about my hat this week, Chad?
Well, it's a Raven. No, it's a
So
Ravens hat. It's
no ball
wintry.
cap, no ball cap this week
Yeah, it's a winter hat.
because we're not doing Bills this week. No Bills.
Oh, wow. Wow. Took me a while to catch up on that one. You'll notice that I do have a bill
You
because
sure
that's what
do.
we cheer for. No, actually, I'll cheer for the Rams. Get that Steelers fifth seed. I want that fifth seed. Getting greedy.
I think this game is the Bills are Ravens light. Josh Allen is Lamar Jackson light. I'm sure you've seen by now the stat where this is the highest combined rushing yards in a quarterback matchup in NFL history.
I didn't see that, but it seems pretty clear.
It's like 1,400 yards, but the funny thing about that is that like 900 and some of it is Lamar. He's almost doubled Josh Allen. Josh Allen runs for like 50 yards a game, maybe, which is nothing to shake a stick at. It's the type of quarterback that is frustrating to root against when you're on defense because they make those scramble plays. And Josh Allen hasn't thrown a interception since before Diwali. I was trying to think. So today I was looking at the calendar and I was like, well, maybe Columbus Day. But Columbus Day was too early in October.
Oh my gosh.
And Apple tells you like all the crazy holidays on the calendar. And Halloween just seemed too recent. So Diwali was like 5 days before Halloween. So
It counts.
Josh
I've
Allen
never
hasn't thrown an
celebrated.
interception since Diwali. And
Fair enough.
and they've been good, and that's the recipe when you have a young quarterback and a stout defense. But offensively and defensively both, the Bills are like a couple spots behind the Ravens in everything, except for scoring. They're a lot lower in scoring. So this is a game that the Ravens should win easily. Josh Allen, to me, is the X factor for that. If he uses his legs successfully, and they're gonna run the ball, and so if the defense can keep it close long enough, which is a tall task, and not many teams have really been able to do it. I don't know what the weather's going to be like.
That's your X factor.
That is the recipe for the Bills winning. If they're able to commit to the run with Gore and Singletary, which is what they want to do, and they will do it if they're able to, it very well could be a close game. On the flip side of that, the Bills have beat nobody. They have 0 quality wins. Their best win by current record is the Cowboys, who are not above 500. They're 6-6, and they're getting ass blasted by the Bears right now. The game was close when we started the pod. It was 7-3, and it's 24-7 now. Bears.
Oh my god.
So that's their
crazy.
best win.
If I were to tell you that the Ravens ranked 31st in the league in a defensive metric, would you believe me?
I'd believe you. I know they've been much improved recently.
I'll
I'm
tell
trying
you
to
what
think
it is.
what it would be. Go ahead.
It's relatively specific. On runs outside the tackle, they are the 31st ranked defense in the NFL.
That makes a lot of
And
sense.
not just the beginning of the year when we were
Yeah,
still critical of the Ravens' run defense. Raheem Mostert, as
killed
recently
him.
as 4 days ago, blew them up. Those
Yep.
linebackers that we're celebrating are pretty good in coverage, but they're not necessarily going sideline to sideline. And it turns out that over the last 3 weeks, maybe a month, the Bills have been transitioning from the ageless wonder, Frank Gore, to almost primarily giving the ball to one Devin
Singletary.
Singletary, who, if you're wondering why, yeah, he likes to run outside the tackles. So this is going to be a legit challenge. Now, this is my weekly time when I say that the Ravens have a legit challenge, and then hopefully no one remembers that because then they win by like 45. This is a legit challenge for the Ravens defense here. If the Bills can keep it a 1-2 score game,
Yeah.
for any amount of time. Because there's some other things that don't work out quite as well in their favor, I don't think. One of them is to stick on the Bills offense is Josh Allen's characteristic as a quarterback, which is that he likes to throw the ball deep. He likes to air it out. And you know what? The Ravens have a defender who loves quarterbacks that love to throw deep balls. His name's Earl Thomas, and he's made a living on quarterbacks that make silly decisions throwing deep balls. Um, I think Earl Thomas has been looking forward to this game for a while. I think he's going to be real excited to go up to Buffalo and play. And, you know, John Brown, he's been good. The Bills receivers have been overperforming, I think, their name recognition. But if Josh Allen doesn't make good decisions, Earl Thomas, this is going to be maybe his biggest stat game of the year if Josh Allen doesn't make smart decisions.
Earl Thomas had a quiet career first last week.
Half sack.
It was a career half first last week. That's right. He has had 0 career sacks heading into the game, and he got a half sack. So I think the Ravens community is considering it not a sack.
He he had 0 half sacks, but earlier this year he had his first full sack. That's why the
Did he?
statistic is so absurd. Yeah, I think it was like week 2 or 3. It was early in the year. I believe if you look him up, he should have 1.5 sacks right now. So that was his first half
His first
sack,
half sack.
which is especially in a year when the Ravens are setting all these records, especially lame that they're talking about it.
Hey, it's just another record. Just
It's as lame
another
as the purple
first.
purple jerseys together. It's very lame. Earl Thomas is much cooler than that. He should have taken care of it.
Al just popped in. You didn't miss the Steelers talk, Al. If you stick around, we'll talk about the Duck Man
Yeah,
pretty soon here.
we'll talk about him.
Yeah, the Ravens are familiar with John Brown and what he's able to do, and yeah, if Josh Allen decides to go deep for the sake of going deep, it could be bad news. The Bills are another team that in the pass game, both Cole Beasley and John Brown, whatever white tight end the Bills are trotting out these days, it's basically a clone of Scott Chandler.
Something Knox, I think they
There
got
you
on the
go.
team these
Yeah.
days. Tell you what though, I mean, don't sleep on him. Like if Marlon Humphrey gets handsy and the refs don't love him the way some refs do, even if they're not catching it every time, you're getting your PI calls, you're moving the ball, like the Bills, if you give them a couple short fields, like
Yeah.
they can keep that game close, still depend on the running game. Not to mention that, like you mentioned, Josh Allen's ability to run, but like he's fast and strong. He's the same type of problem for these linebackers that Devin Singletary is, just for a different kind of rationale. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has one of his better rushing games of the year because the
No.
Ravens' pass rush is primarily secondary blitzing and Matthew Judon. And
Yes.
I don't know how they're going to dial that up cleverly with the way the Bills are probably going to run up formations and stuff. I don't think the Ravens are going to be able to do their little dime business where they bring 7 slot corners and overwhelm people. It's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little tricky schematically.
I think defensively you just kind of have to key on the run. It kind of just a classic game plan of you're gonna live if Josh Allen actually beats you, like you just have to live with it. Stop
That
the
means you're
run.
taking your best players off the field. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to have
Yeah,
Brandon Carr and Jimmy Smith and all. You're not going to have them all out there at the same time. You know who you're going to have out there at the same time is Josh Bynes and LJ Fort. Like that's
yeah,
who you're going to have out
yeah.
there at the same time.
But the Bills are also a team that they're not gonna want to spread you out 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver, like
Right.
so. Yeah, it'll be interesting. They'll probably be playing similar to last week, a lot of base, you know, um, just like the 49ers, a team that wants to run the ball. So
So did I do a good job convincing you and our listeners that this is the week that it's a real test for the Ravens?
maybe our listeners, for
This is the
me,
week.
I will rest on this is not the Browns, and the Ravens coaching staff will not allow this team to over. There's no one to look past and overlook the Bills and look towards. Um, so I think the Ravens will be focused. They'll be ready. Because they haven't shown anything less than that for 2 months now. So
I'm pretty sure, and I'm not saying that this is happening because of me, but it could be. I've been saying for a long time now that teams need to sell out on the run and just like let Lamar try to do what he did against the Dolphins, basically.
yeah,
You know what? He might he might do what he did to the Dolphins to the Bills this week. They've got great corners. They've got a couple really good safeties so they could go single high with seeming confidence. I just like would not be surprised if the the Ravens have like two really long passing touchdowns this week. They're overdue. It's time. They started out heavy with the pass early in the year. We kind of, both you and I and Justin were like, this is not very Ravens like. And then they settled in. And
yeah.
I think this is the week that we get the reminder. Like, yeah, put 9 people in the box. Like, maybe it'll be Marquise Brown. Maybe it'll be Mark Andrews. Maybe it'll be Chris Moore with one hand. We don't care. We'll just throw deep balls like over your head.
Miles
And
Boykin contested catch, like
yeah, he could use it. He could use it. That kid needs a win. He has been. Is he even still on the team?
hey man, he's a rookie wide receiver. We're patient.
I can't be patient. That's
So
all the Steelers got.
I think as far as rookie wide receivers go, Marquise Brown, I think he definitely has exceeded my expectations for the year. But what a masterful personnel move it was to draft him. I feel like the Ravens had a vision for this. Just having him on the field means that your safeties cannot cheat up. And I really feel like the Ravens had this vision for this offense and this team already by the draft. They knew what they had in Lamar. They knew what the focus had to be. He was the perfect piece. Even if all he can do is catch open passes, like he's fast enough that when he gets open, if you can hit him, and they showed it first quarter of the season twice, like, and that's all they needed almost for the rest of the year, probably, if they never hit him again for the rest of the year. Like, he keeps your safeties back and keeps your defense honest, and that keeps the box a little bit lighter than it otherwise would be. And the power run game is for real.
Yeah, they're gonna win.
Yeah, I think so too. If they lost to Buffalo, it would be Buffalo's best win by a zillion,
Since
by
their
a whole
last
lot.
AFC Championship win.
Since the Bengals beat the Ravens 2 years ago to get the Bills a playoff berth.
Like that. That's the one. That was the next best win. Yeah,
So
good luck. Good luck, Bills.
yeah, the Ravens are favored by less over the Bills than the Browns are over the Bengals, if that means anything to anyone. Um, the Ravens are -6, so should be a pretty good game. Two teams
Dude,
that you'll probably see in the playoffs.
if I was a betting man, that would be my parlay, if you could even do it, that the Ravens will beat the Bills by more than the Browns will beat the Bengals. I would take that bet all my life.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
All right, well, we did our obligatory the Ravens are great segment. Should we move on to another really great franchise that's totally doing awesome things all the time?
I mean, they're 3-8-1, but sure, we can talk about the Cardinals if you really want
Perfect.
to.
Kyler Murray, what a phenom, right? What a phenom. He's the second best quarterback in that game, and that's a silver medal. Um, for AFC North football fans, you got to tune in to the Steelers at the Phoenix, Arizona Cardinals at 425. It's the only AFC North football on. It's going to be a great continuation of your AFC North Sunday afternoon. Um, and Tomlin's fired up. Mike Tomlin, who people want on the hot seat, they want to get rid of Mike Tomlin. Now people are talking about Mike Tomlin for Coach of the Year. He came out of that Cleveland win fired up. Here's my Tomlin opener. We're looking to strike a blow for team. You know what that means, Joey? It's a
No.
classic Tomlinism, so nobody knows what it means, except he was talking about the context was bringing in backups, like, next man up mentality. Tomlin's saying, look, we're looking to be that representation, that football is the ultimate team sport. There isn't one player that can elevate you all the way. You have to do things cohesively, united. That's what the Steelers are doing. They don't have all the players that we thought they were going to have. Certainly not, 2 or 3 years ago. Injuries, weird behavior, all that sort of crazy stuff. But not even just this year. They've just like lots of crazy roster stuff. We are fired up, Joey. This is a united team. That's why Arizona doesn't stand a chance. Let's be real here. Actually, they really do stand a chance. The Steelers eke by every week. Every week that they do win, they eke by. Can we just take a moment, though? Because I've been thinking about this and I haven't brought it up on the podcast. We agree that the Steelers' offense is like bad, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Especially without James and Juju. I think with Juju and James Conner in the mix, even with a fourth string quarterback, they're decent on off. They're almost average on offense with the potential to be average or average
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah. But they haven't.
But
That's
without them,
not
they're
like
bad.
the
Yeah.
And in case anyone that's listening is wondering, they are without them this week. There will be no Juju or James Conner. Juju hasn't been officially ruled out, but you heard it here first. He's not playing. Mike Pouncey playing, though. Heart and soul of the team. If you hit anybody in the head, he'll kill you. We already know that. He came back this week and again in an interview said he had no regrets. So he will kick you on the ground if you try to hit our quarterback in the head. Just letting you know.
Not a
Anybody.
single letter.
Um, where was I? Their offense is bad. But have you noticed that the Steelers stink early? They go down by multiple scores, and yet they win. For such a
They
bad
did it again.
offense, they don't get rattled. Like they were down by 10 to Cleveland. They looked like they were done. They were down by 14 to Miami. They're down. Like they go down. They lose the lead. They never have the lead. They're always playing from behind. And you would think that a team that moves the ball so poorly in general, that would be like the end of it. Like they need to play from ahead. They need to control. They need to, let that pass rush unleash itself. But they don't. They don't need that. What their defense has been doing this year, they've been doing in all the wrong circumstances. The Steelers have what are we in week 14? They have 11 first drive turnovers. That is not an official stat. Like they put their defense in these terrible positions. They're down by 10 or 14 teams know they can't move the ball, so they can do whatever they want, and the defense still comes up with the plays. It's incredible. I just wanted to celebrate that for a moment, not specific to this game, but just in general. This is a
Yeah.
team that it's got a lot more grit than I think even meets the eye when you just look a little below the surface. Arizona's defense is the 31st ranked defense in the NFL. They're terrible. They're the 32nd ranked defense against the pass. For our listeners that don't watch a ton of football, there's only 32 teams. So that's last. They're the worst. They're the worst pass defense. And they're below average against the run. So basically, what that tells me is you got to let the duck fly. Bad joke. Get over it. But don't sacrifice your game plan. Benny Snell has been good as a lead back. I'm not trying to send him to the Pro Bowl, but he has been more than sufficient. He's got a great motor. He's not going to get tired in the fourth quarter. You can lean on him. Just because Arizona is awful against the pass, don't be afraid to do what you would normally do. But you also can't go ultra conservative. Like, Duck wants to throw the ball deep. He does. He needs it. He needs it. So you got to let him. You got to look for your opportunities, just those one-on-ones. But don't go into the game thinking, oh, this is the worst pass defense. Like, let's run the spread. Like, they're just a bad defense. Monitor Terrell Suggs. Keep your eye on Patrick Peterson. Like, don't do anything crazy stupid. Don't turn the ball over twice because we know they're going to turn it over on the first drive. That's a gimme. And just, like, score when you get those short fields. Get your pass interference penalties. Deion Kane, that's what his job is now. I think they can handle it. They can handle it if they can score 20 points.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the beauty of Duck Hodges is, and we've said it last week, is that he's still playing with house money. And the drive that they scored on at the end of the first half last week was kind of the perfect fuck it drive, where there was just like big passes, that 28-yard pass to motherfucker Jones. I don't know his first name. Tevin
with
Jones. And he was just chucking it all around, and it was a zero fucks given type of drive. But that's dangerous, man. And the beauty of the offense being at this stage is that, the greatness of Patrick Peterson doesn't fucking matter, because you guys don't have a number one receiver for Patrick Peterson to cover. So it doesn't matter. You just avoid Patrick Peterson. Doesn't matter who he's on. Whatever. Like, that's just how it is. You don't have a guy that you have to force the ball to. You don't have a guy to keep happy. Like, make the right reads. Let Duck let it rip. I think it's something that the Steelers also do well, that the Browns haven't done well this year, is they know their identity, and they've shown that Fichtner has a pretty good gauge on when to protect his young guys, his young quarterback, and when to push it and let it rip. And maybe Duck gets to let it rip a little more this week than he has so far this year.
Yeah, I'm not going to put Fichtner on Ravens coordinator level yet, because I think there's been some circumstantial stuff. Like,
right.
He didn't really let Duck cut it loose until that free play, when Duck cut it loose because it was a free play. And then he did adjust. We talk about that. Justin, this one's for you. He adjusted when he saw what could happen, and that, Duck made a nice pass. They loosened it up a little on him, loosened up the choke chain there. Yeah, they do have a number one wide receiver. You might think that James Washington is turning a corner because he's finally making the contested catches that he made when he was in college. It's actually because every week he goes duck hunting with Duck. I'm not joking.
I know.
The bond is made, dude. Like, they're duck hunting right now. Yeah. It's awesome stuff. They're in the blind, dude. They're making calls. It's magical. I wanted to look. Let's not talk too much about the Steelers' offense. They're bad. Like
It's
it's
not much to
very
talk about. Yeah.
realistic, even against the 30 whatever last place defense of Arizona. It is very realistic that they score 17 points, and two of the drives that are scoring are because of either a massive pass interference penalty or a defensive turnover, or just the defense scores. Like those are all. This is very real. But I do believe in Duck. I believe in you, Duck. This is a great test for the defense. Movie fans, in Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade, Indiana has to pass 3 tests to get the Holy Grail. Well, guess what? That's what we're doing. The Steelers have 3 tests of mobile quarterback to make the playoffs. And this is the lowest tier of that test.
Yeah,
Rookie
it
quarterback,
progresses. Yeah.
Kyler Murray. We need to understand how to harness our pass rush, have disciplined linebackers, and maybe incorporate a little more zone defense than normal. And we need to keep Kyler Murray relatively contained. He has made. This is me. I haven't watched all their games, obviously. I'm like a father. I barely have time to watch all the Steelers games.
Yeah.
Now I got to watch the Browns games. Um, he's been sacked 41 times. Again, that might not mean a lot to anybody. Here's another way to put it. No quarterback has been sacked more times than Kyler Murray. And he's really hard to tackle, which means he's running around back there. He's probably doing circles. He's probably running the opposite direction of his throwing arm a lot. He's being silly. He's being a silly little rookie, not knowing what's going on. So we need to encourage that. We need to encourage Kyler to run in circles and to think that there's a deep ball coming open. And then TJ Watt needs to strip sack him, or Bud Dupree, or Cam Hayward, or anyone. We have so many people that can do it. And that's how we win. Because guess what? All you fantasy owners that had David Johnson on your teams, this is when you can start crying. Because David Johnson has been benched for Kenyon Drake. Guess what? I'm not afraid of Kenyon Drake. If I come back Tuesday and he ran for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, well, then I'll eat my words. But I'm just not fretting it. I am just not fretting Kenyon Drake.
Couldn't even cut it on the damn Dolphins.
Dude. Right? Right? And speaking of not cutting it, Christian Kirk, he's your big threat guy. That's Minka. Larry Fitzgerald, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's probably Mike Hilton and Terrell Edmonds bracketing, because he'll still get his 8 catches for 75 yards. And if they're timed right, that's a couple scoring drives. And then, who was not good enough to be on the Cincinnati Bengals, who lost their top 2 wide receivers and suck so bad that a dude lived on a tent in a roof, on a roof for 3 months. Farrell Cooper wasn't good enough to be on that team. So guess what? I'm not afraid of him either. I'm not afraid of just about anybody on this team, except for maybe Kyler Murray, because he's dumb, and he might just be dumb enough to do some crazy fourth quarter shit like he did against like Detroit. Score like 20 points. You know, I can't allow that. But it won't be in my hands.
Yeah, he's had a really up and down year, and we kind of touched on it. It's either like last week with the Rams game where it's snowball effect and everything just falls apart. And he's had his flashes of brilliance too, but like you said, he's still a rookie quarterback. This is a seasoned defense. They should be able to handle him with relative ease.
Yeah, they're not even have to blitz, which is great because that means that you can have fast guys like Mark Barron and Devin Bush just tracking him down whenever he's being silly.
And yeah, we're talking realistically like top 3 defense in the league right here.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no joke. Pittsburgh is legit. Um, yeah, I mean, I I feel pretty strongly about Pittsburgh in this football game. Um, I know probably more so than you.
Yeah.
I know as a Ravens fan, a lot of times people are more confident, and you have like you get nervous, you get the weird anxieties. The defense is so good, and we've been arguing in our group chat with the We Got Game podcast in the beginning of the week about this Pittsburgh Steelers defense is so good that they could make a game with anybody close, depending on what the offense does. The Arizona Cardinals are a 3-8 football team, and it's not that they're underperforming their talent. Like, it's just who they are. They're just not good. They're rebuilding. They have a rookie quarterback, a rookie coach. Like, their number one offensive weapon just got benched. Like, it's just who they are. And I think the Steelers should win pretty easily out
Yeah,
west.
there's a couple of the more like esoteric factors, like that the Steelers don't travel to the West Coast very well and kind of things of that nature. And when you combine that with just like the Steelers just have such like a low margin for error because of how poorly they move the ball sometimes, that like, it's like last week we've been talking all season about the Steelers wide receivers stepping up for their quarterback. Well, James Washington did against the Browns, but Deontay Johnson didn't. He had 3 penalties. He had a drop. Like, he, it's debatable whether or not he is the reason Devlin Hodges threw an interception. He just stopped his route on Devlin Hodges' interception. He made Hodges
Yeah.
look like an idiot, like he was just thrown to the safety. Um, that kind of performance could crater this team on any day because of how slim that margin is with this offense. They really depend on the turnover or the big penalty. Um, they're just not consistently going to have long drives, even against a bad defense. I mean,
Yeah.
what did they? I can't even remember the score of the Bengals game the other week, but they didn't. It was 17 points they scored or something. Like they didn't score a lot. Guess who the other worst defense in the NFL is besides the Cardinals? Yes,
Yeah.
I was alluding to it. It is the Bengals. Like, so that's a problem. But I do agree that the Steelers should win the game. Their defense is amazing, and as a Steeler fan, that gets me up in the morning because a Steelers team with a good defense is worth watching, no matter what the circumstances. But still, they should win, so that I still have the circumstance of hoping that I can watch a playoff game or two.
Yeah. Also, a lot of talk this year after um, the Pats won their 10th game about they have 18 years in a row of 10 wins or some crazy shit like that. Um, Probably the most impressive streak of that nature is if the Steelers win this week, that'll be their 8th win of the season. It'll be their 16th season in a row of 500 or better.
Yeah, we've talked about
Crazy.
it a couple times on this podcast, and usually it's right around the time that I start complaining about Mike Tomlin being bad for something. I
Yep.
have to remind myself and the rest of us that Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. And any time that a Steeler fan watches Mike Tomlin challenge a call and they take their hat off and they throw it on the ground and they throw the remote out an open window, hopefully open, just remember, never had a losing season. And we are well past the point of him playing with Bill Cowher's players or whatever. Like,
Oh, yeah.
he is as much the personality of this team now as anyone. Um, that's a big deal. This team has started 0-4 with him. They started 0-3 this year, and they just compete. Like, they continue to compete. And if you really want Tomlin gone and you're going to talk to me about it, you better have a really good name and then a really good case for that name, because a lot of really good coaches with history of success have come to the NFL or come to a new team, and it hasn't worked out. So we do know that this team will go to Arizona. Mike Tomlin will challenge something stupid. He will probably use a timeout in the first drive of the second quarter. But hopefully the Steelers will win anyway, because they love Mike Tomlin. They love the Steelers. They love each other. And that's what this game is all about, guys. Family and hitting.
Yeah, I guess you could call us a Mike Tomlin podcast now.
Dude, we love Mike Tomlin. You know you love Mike.
I do. He's entertaining at the least.
That's why we're here.
So 4:25 on Sunday afternoon. I think they call that America's game, that time slot, because like the 4 o'clock game starts before the 1 o'clock games are over, and on CBS, and the Steelers are a 2-point favorite.
Makes me a little nervous. Makes me a little nervous. It should be a good game. That's another thing I would say. Like, this will be a competitive game. Don't expect Arizona to lay down, and don't expect the Steelers to run away from almost anyone for the rest of the year.
Yeah, there you go. And it's the first level. That was a fantastic analogy. Kyler Murray, and then looking forward, next week they have Josh Allen.
Yep, that's second level.
2 weeks later, they get Lamar again.
If boss. The Steelers remember that only the penitent man shall pass and duck beneath the spinning blades of death, they will get to make the leap of faith.
There you have it.
And if they make the leap of faith, they can stand in the room with all the cups. Pick the ugly one, because Jesus was a carpenter.
Roddy has no idea what you're talking about.
Roddy's never seen a movie that I respect. It's on the internet forever now. I've been wanting to make a public announcement of that for a long time.
All right, shall we journey around week 14 for a little bit?
Yeah, we can take a minute.
Okay.
I got to bake some bread later, though, so don't keep me up too late.
Right on. All right, what is a team that you're going to be rooting for this week?
You start, because I have to pull all the stuff up.
Okay, I will start. I am going to be rooting for the Saints. They play at 1 o'clock. It's during my game, but I will have a close eye on this one. They're going to be hosting the 49ers. I don't think I like the 49ers after the Ravens game last week. That game was a little close. And Mr. Warner, don't like him. He's too boisterous about covering all my good players. And so, I mean, New Orleans is like the last big-time NFC team that the Ravens... well, not the last. The biggest NFC team that the Ravens haven't played this year. And I'm interested to see kind of what they got. They'll be at home, and that dome is a huge advantage to them. I just like the Saints. I like Alvin Kamara. I think he's a really interesting person. Last year, when they asked him the first thing that he bought with his signing bonus, he said chicken. He's just a really fun person, and Drew Brees is great to watch. So I'll be keeping a very close eye on Saints Niners, and hoping that Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't know, gets brutalized by Cameron Jordan.
Well, between that game and the game I'm about to bring up, it's a real shame that the Giants are playing the Eagles on Monday Night Football. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all I'd like to say about that game. I'm going to be rooting for a team that I spoke earlier in this year about, that is close to my heart, as close to you as you can get without being pushed away by the aura that surrounds me of Steelers fandom. That is the Kansas City Chiefs. They owe the Patriots a whooping. They owe it to them bad. And I think the Patriots are hankering for it. A lot of Patriots people and football analysts will tell you, don't bet against the Patriots. They never lose two in a row. Don't bet against the Patriots. Not in Gillette Stadium. Gillette, that's the best a man can get. Don't root against the Patriots. Tom Brady's the GOAT and not the farm animal that's nasty. Like the greatest of all time, GOAT. Don't bet against the Patriots. Bill Belichick is a genius. He knows how to do all sorts of things. You know what? I'm betting against the Patriots. They stink right now. The Chiefs are coming up. Patriots are going down. They don't have an offensive weapon to save their lives. The Chiefs are going to blitz the bejesus out of Tom Brady every single day that Tom Brady gets out of bed consecutively. He is a little bit more afraid to get hit by a giant human being. And guess what? He doesn't have anybody to give the ball to right now. He's got James White. He's got what's his face, Edelman. It's just not enough. It's just not enough. And Patrick Mahomes, he isn't afraid of anything. He dislocated his knee and came back 2 weeks later and just ran touchdowns. He's a young man. It's a young man's game. It's over, Tom. It is over.
Fuck yes.
And this is the first week that you really feel it.
Hell
Chiefs.
yeah. Let's fucking go.
That's right.
Burn it down.
I can't watch a minute of it because I'm going to be, watching the Steelers. But every time something good happens, I'll get a text from my mom and I'll just visualize it.
Yep. Here you go. The lead pipe lock of the week. Kansas City +3 at New England.
Why is it a lead pipe?
It's free money. It's free fucking money.
I like
New
it.
England is not good. Kansas City, very good. Patrick Mahomes, newsflash, he's fucking healthy again. He just ran for his first touchdown of the year. How about that? How you like them apples? All right.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman. This is not the same
guys.
Patriots, guys. It's not the same.
Sammy Watkins.
And after they lose to the Chiefs, they're going to lose to the other three highest seeds in the AFC this year. They're going to lose to the other three division winners. The Patriots are done for this year. We'll see what kind of personnel moves and things they make. It's over. It's too late for Gronk to come back out of retirement. They don't want anything to do with Antonio Brown, no matter how many clever videos he makes on Instagram about him missing Tom Brady and the Patriots only wanting him and Gronk for Christmas. It's over.
You heard it here. I don't know. First, third, ninth. There's a lot of people saying things out there.
The path to the AFC Championship for the Patriots does not run through Foxborough, and that's bad fucking news.
Not yet.
Houston, who cares? But Baltimore and Kansas City live in a land of legitimate home field advantages in an NFL where home field advantages don't exist as much anymore. So,
is there anything else worth talking about?
The Seahawks play the Rams. That should be a good game.
That's great that you brought that up because this is the game that I would say everyone will get excited about. And I believe that this is the classic 13-10 awful NFC West game.
That reminds me I need to bet this game.
You're going to bet the Sunday night game? This is like the game.
Oh, you have to.
Year.
It's the only game that's on. What else am I going to do for that game?
I don't know. Keep money in your wallet.
-1. Seattle Seahawks -1. I feel really good about that. Here we go. There we go. There it is.
This is not a good game to bet. Every single year that when these two teams play twice, it sucks. It sucks every time. Yeah. Take the under. I'm telling you, if you want to bet, take the under. This is the game every time. It's just always a mess. It's going to be a mess again. I promise. I'm telling you. I'm 100% accurate with my gambling picks because I'm very conscientious about when I give my lead pipe lock or whatever. This is it. The under. I don't even care what the number is.
It's
Don't even
47 right now.
under. Under. Make it 37 and take whatever odds that gives you.
um, as I said that this was going to be a good game, I pulled up our confidence pool. And I picked the Seahawks with a confidence of 14. I don't remember doing that.
Well, that was a mistake.
I think the
because this
Seahawks are
game-
good, and I think the Rams are not that good.
That's why I'm telling you that this is a mess. This is one of those division games that it doesn't matter. I took the Seahawks 3. I am so. This game is going to be a shit show. But for the record, I also took Dallas with a very high number, and it looks like that I will not be receiving those points.
There's a lot of games that I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. You want to hear something really crazy? I have the Dolphins with a confidence of 9 this week.
Who are they playing?
The Jets.
Oh, Joey. Oh, Joey.
Let's go.
You're crazy, man.
So I've
I
missed
can't
3 weeks of the confidence pool because in the confidence pool, if you miss the Thursday night game, you miss the week. So I'm fucked in the confidence pool anyways. It doesn't even matter at this point.
I'm winning, and nothing gives me more joy than when Roddy collects money from all of his friends and they buy me a jersey. And it's an annual tradition, and I'm in position to receive it again, and I don't want to throw that away. So there you go, Roddy. You've just been called out twice on the AFC podcast. And that's without me even talking about how I knocked you out of the playoffs in our fantasy league. 3.
One word answer. Is Kirk Cousins above average?
No.
You heard it here first, guys. And on that note,
he's average.
this has been the AFC Northcast. You can find us anywhere that you find things. Twitter,
your sock drawer,
Instagram, Facebook,
your garage,
the library,
your car seat,
iTunes, not Spotify, the Google Play Store, SoundCloud. We should look up Spotify, see what we got to do to get on. It can't be that hard.
Underneath your couch cushion.
Yep. That's all I got. All right, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy a good slate of football this Sunday. Interact with us. We'll get some polls up for pick'ems for the games. I've been slacking on that the last couple weeks. And we will see you on Tuesday to talk about how Josh Allen is not on Lamar Jackson's level.
And Minkah Fitzpatrick is the Defensive Player of the Year, or TJ Watt, or both. 2 trophies.
Very possible. See you guys.